So I'm just chilling with my dad. His name is Mark, or I call him Marcus, or Father, or Defacus Beasley.
Or I love you, Dad.
Yeah, my special boy.
Rubs my belly a lot, which is not good.
So we're just going to talk about, I don't know, keep it in the business topic, I guess, and making money. So you built your business around the age of late 20s and you quit your job at...
I started the business probably when I was 30, and I quit the bank about 5 years. I was working for the Commonwealth Bank. I quit the Commonwealth Bank about 5 years after that.
You want to hold this for a while?
Yeah, I was in a management role. And basically, one of my clients came to me, a guy called Peter Walker. He was a very, very well-known chartered accountant in Sydney. And he said to me, you need to get out before you're 40, because if you don't get out before you're 40, you will stay there till you retire. And I was already bored. I was already getting in at 10 o'clock in the morning, and when I should have been there at 8 o'clock, etc., etc. And I pretty much found out the bank did owe me. And, you know, we were making good money for the bank as well. So I sort of thought, well, let's do my own thing. So got out.
Why did you decide to get into jumping castles? Why didn't you just go into like some sort of more creative
Basically,
finance?
okay, so basically this guy called Peter Walker said to me, he said, you need to find a widget. So it doesn't matter what the widget is. Widget being, you can Google it, a widget is just anything, right?
Yeah.
So find a widget and sell it or hire it or do something with it. So
Why did he say that though, instead of going into finance?
why did he say that?
Like I've got mates that used to work a job and then they went to be property
Yeah.
developer / finance guy or whatever in their own business.
In their own business? Oh, look,
Yeah.
I could have gone into like broking or something of that chin, but brokers back in the 90s were not really, they were just hated in the industry. The banks didn't like them, etc., etc. Brokers today, you know, the banks love them because the brokers can get them deals that we can't. You know, the cat's just about to attack a bird. Claude. Keep talking, I'll sort it. James is just putting the cat inside. It's being naughty. Okay, so getting back to it, basically he just said just do any widget, just sell any widget, do it yourself, etc., etc. So yes, could have gone down the finance role, but even then I couldn't see that I was going to make a hell of a lot of money out of it. So I was already sort of entertaining kids, and we had a few little small jumping castles that we put out to backyards and that, and I realised it was time to move on to something bigger and better. So basically went into doing this full time and could understand that hiring something was actually quite good, because I was hiring something out that I could use again and again and again and again and again. And
Right.
people didn't really know what the value was. What you had to do is just make sure you keep your costs low. One of the first lessons I learnt was, I remember employing a girl. There was two girls I wanted to employ. I decided to employ one out of the two.
Yeah.
And this girl had absolutely no idea. The one I picked had no idea how to make money. So all she did, she thought she was making money by filing something.
But because you didn't know what to look for in hiring
Yeah,
someone
I had
to
no
make money.
idea. So basically I realised there that I had to realise I needed somebody that could sell. And the other thing I needed to understand is and this is a big thing, people need to understand they need to make sure that the person you're hiring is smarter at what they're doing than what you are.
Yeah.
Right? And if they're not, then you need to teach them to be smarter than you and to take it to the next level.
Yeah.
So basically from there I realised I needed to get somebody in there who was actually a good salesperson, and we did. We got a very good salesperson. She's still in the industry. She's not working for us anymore. She moved on to something bigger
was
and
her
better. Janine.
Oh, right.
And she was superb at what she
So
did.
what did she do before you hired her?
Look, I actually have no idea, but she certainly, I don't think she was in a sales role, but she just had the gift of the gab.
Yeah.
She's very good with clients, and she knew how to make a dollar. And
Right.
that's what we needed to do,
I see.
right? So,
But you know, it's interesting. I have pretty much only hired females for some. I've hired some males. They didn't really work out. They were kind of...
yeah, well, I actually found that males in an office don't work out, but having said that, we've got two males in the office now, and they are great. And the reason they're great is because they're flexible to do other things. So they're not just doing the office work. They can get out, they can get things done. They can move physical work. If something needs to be cleaned, they can do it. They can go deliver something, etc., etc. Well, you need that. In some cases, you need that because depending on what you're doing, because Otherwise, you're going to be stuck with a person that just wants to be in the office and just wants to do one thing. And in a small business, you need somebody that's flexible, that's willing to do something else. So we were employing some good employees who were good at their job, but they weren't flexible. That was the other problem. The longer they stayed there, the more they decided they weren't going to be flexible on things. So, that was a problem for me. So, if we needed somebody in on a Saturday or a Sunday, we needed them in on a Saturday or a Sunday. People need to be flexible with their work these days.
Yeah.
So that's one big thing. The other thing I realised is that you need to be really cashed up. So that was a big thing as well.
What do you mean?
So in other words, have money behind you to seize opportunities as and when they come along. So don't keep borrowing to buy something. Yes, it's a good idea to borrow to buy something, but if you're going to borrow money to buy something, you've got to look at your payback period. So
You mean like a vehicle or something?
whatever you're buying, manufacturing, whatever it actually is that you're buying to make money with.
Yeah.
You're going to make sure what's your payback period. Is it 12 months? Is it 18 months? Is it 5 years? Is it 10 years?
Yeah.
How long is it going to last for? So you've got to look at all those sort of things. If you're buying a vehicle to deliver things in, well, a lot of people get into courier businesses, but seriously, people that get into courier businesses go, "Oh, I've got a business." Well, you don't actually have a business. You're running a van. The guy that you've just got it off runs a big courier business, and he's probably more than likely charging you big dollars. We've got a kid that works for us at the moment, and he got charged something like 80 grand for this van. And he was promised the world of, you're going to make $2,000 a week, etc., etc. The bloke was likely to make $500 a week. So now he's stuck with this $80,000 van and a big debt, and he's given up on the courier.
Where did he get the 80K from?
He borrowed it. The courier company put him onto somebody who obviously did finance. So now the poor kid's gone backwards.
It was like a $30,000 van?
Oh no, it's probably a $60,000 van. But what they do is, we're going to deck it out. We're going to put our signage on it, blah blah blah. And he's making this guy pay for it. It was very common back in the 90s and 2000s. That's what courier businesses used to do, or even trucking companies. They'd say, we're going to get this guy in. He's going to buy one of our second-hand trucks, and we're going to give him business. And they sell him a truck at 20, 30, 40,000 above what they should be selling it for. And they organise the finance, so he thinks, it's only going to cost me X amount of dollars a week.
Right.
And then they say, we're going to give you X amount of dollars a week to pay it, to thing, and it doesn't happen. So they might guarantee that for 6 months, but your term's over 5 years. So, you've got to look at that as well. If they're only going to guarantee that, and anybody guaranteeing income for 6 months is crazy.
So keep yourself cashed up for opportunities.
Yeah.
Any other reasons you should keep your business profits stowed away?
Always keep money for a rainy day, because you never know what's going to go around the corner. You never know the black swan. So what happens if there is a rainy day? What happens if the next GFC hits, or if the next COVID hits? You've got to think to yourself, well, the government can't save you all the time for things. What happens if you break your leg?
Oh, I see.
And the other thing you need to also look at is that I always say, Americans say this, who's your halfback or who's your quarterback? So who in your business is basically somebody that's actually running it for you, because you can't run everything.
Yeah, that's something that I've realised recently. Because I work with VAs, it was very difficult because any VA that's come in, I've been there for years before them, so I've got like this quarterback captain role, and therefore they then step back. It's kind of like in, what's an example of a sports team? Think of your favourite sports team. When the best player retires or moves to another team, the other players, they then step up to the plate and start scoring more goals because of the absence needs to be filled. It's like this intangible thing. So that's something that I've found, and I think that maybe that's why the staff in the Philippines, for example, not many of them get the chance to be, the captain / quarterback of a business, because they're all being hired by overseas people who are trying to outsource the menial tasks, which means that they never have to step up to that and they never have to flex that part of the brain.
They don't have that opportunity.
So it's always like they're in the lower positions. They might be up, but there's a maximum, because there's always a Westerner that's chosen to hire the lower positions, sort of thing.
Yeah. But having said that, though, he or she has hired those VAs because they're good at what they do and they'll do it. There's no noise around them, so they just need to do those mundane tasks, and there's no noise from other parts of the business that will affect what they're doing.
Yeah.
So hence the reason why you get a VA is you get them to actually do those boring, mundane tasks that they have to do every day, and that's all they need to do. They don't need to use too much of their brain, which is unfortunate in some respects because it means they will never expand to do other things. But yeah, no, that's exactly right.
Yeah.
The other thing that we found is that we had a few staff that were not bullies, but they were like they were there for a long time, and they were like claiming they're like the big wigs of the place. And we actually found that didn't work moving forward because the other staff would never step up because they were too shy to step up. So as soon as we moved those staff on, the staff that we had there for the last 12 months stepped up and brought in more staff, and now we've got a much happier team
Yeah.
because the other staff member didn't want to be there but couldn't leave because he didn't know what else to do.
Yeah.
So I forced his hand and said, "You've got to go." For one, I won't go into why, but basically he had to go.
Yeah.
And then we actually adopted a number of AFL and rugby league teams and what they do in respect of, if you don't believe in what our system is, what our business ethics is, then you've got to go. No matter how good a worker you are, you have to go because you're only going to cause problems for us.
Yeah.
And end result was we're actually doing much better now. We're much happier in the office and also the staff downstairs because of it.
So I've kind of just found a replacement quarterback for me, so I could do, say, 4 to 10 hours a week just running the business, doing a subpar job as myself. From what I know, I could do if I was working 40 hours a week, but it was just sustaining with just my input. But for me to go on and do more stuff, like other projects, I've now hired a, like a quarterback kind of person that I'm trying to get the information from my brain into hers. How long ago did you find this sort of person?
Okay, so I was transitioning across because I was struggling with staff and trying to keep everything in control. So I realised I had to move that on to somebody else. And I tried a few people part-time, that didn't work, so I had to put somebody on full-time.
What role?
Pretty much the logistics role, which is our halfback role or quarterback
Yeah.
role. So I brought somebody in before COVID hit, and as COVID was hitting, I moved a number of staff on. And one of the reasons I moved the number of staff on was because they were getting a little bit too. They tended to own their position and own their business, but not willing to step up. And this person was actually struggling. He was very good at what he did, but he was struggling to get the dynamic right because they were there longer than him. So the staff there did not like him coming in later, younger than them, and trying to take control. So what I ended up doing was we moved the other staff on, and we brought staff in that were actually willing to work under him, and it worked a treat. And he's been absolutely brilliant ever since. The other thing you need to think of, and this is a pretty easy one, if you've got kids, you need to think to yourself, would I allow this person to look after my kids? If the answer is yes, and he's good at his job, so that means basically one, you can trust him, and he or she is good at their job. If you can't answer that question of would I trust them with my kids to look after them, then they're not the right person to work in your business because they're not trustworthy.
I see.
What you then do is you then take a step back. And everybody needs to remember, once you get it, like I'll give you an example. I went to a school reunion. So, we're talking about guys that were left school in 1978 and they're all starting to retire and they're all going, yeah, I said to my kids, you got to just work hard all your life and, things will come to you. Sorry, that's Lydia and our cleaner cleaning the pool at the moment, named after my mother who passed a couple of years ago who loved to clean.
Oh, that's what you called her, right? I see.
Anyway, so what I was saying there is work hard. You got to work hard. And I sat back and thought, oh my God, that's the wrong thing to be telling. Yes, you do need to work hard, but there are some people that need to break out from that and actually, okay, they might work hard to get a business up and running, But if you can start getting somebody else to start running the business, then you can work on the business. If you're going to be a proper business, you have to be working on it, not in it.
Yeah.
Yes, you can work in it for a year, for a week or two or three. Like I said to you, you should be going out there and checking cleans and doing stuff that other people have been doing for you for a little while.
Yeah.
But that only is to ground you. Everybody needs to be grounded at some stage. But you need to work on it, not in it. If you're working on it, then you can sit there and think, okay, how can I expand this business? If you're working in it, you'll never expand. You'll never be able to expand it. You won't be able to get all your ducks in order.
What took you so long to find that person and to realize that? Is it because you didn't realize that you needed to work on your business rather than in it, or was there some other reason that took?
I literally just couldn't find the right person. And the
Right.
right person had to come up from the ground level upwards. Like he went to school with you and then came and worked on the factory floor cleaning inflatables, and then he moved from there into into a bigger role sort of thing. So
Yeah, like it would be really difficult to find someone.
yeah. And the other thing you need to remember is you need to remunerate that person according to what you're making as well. If you're making more money, well then you need to think to yourself, well, what are they worth, and what's the risk of losing them, and make sure that they are growing with the business.
Yeah.
So that you keep giving them more than inflation pay rises to make sure that they're actually happy to be there
Yeah.
and that they've got a future there. And the other thing you should remember is most staff want a sense of belonging. So they did a big report years ago, and it was about what was the biggest thing about, sort of being involved in a business and so on. And the biggest thing was belonging. It
Yeah.
wasn't money, it was belonging. Sense of belonging to something. We noticed we set up a WhatsApp group and they're all chatting in there and they put photos up and blah, 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 blah. Since we've done that, we actually found that they're actually performing better because they're putting photos up of all their product or what they've done, what they've set up that day, and it looks great, blah, blah. So the next person does the same thing. Your Christmas parties is very important to be with and to actually have something. Maybe set up breakfast for the kids and so on at some stage, for staff and so on. Like, give them a sense of belonging and they will love it.
Yeah, I used to have a sense of belonging at my last job in the city at that digital product studio. And they actually, I would almost say, weaponized the sense of belonging to make sure they didn't have to pay everyone that much. So everyone got underpaid by about 15K. I'm not sure if I was, but there was definitely some big dogs there that were getting like 120, 140 when they should have been on like closer to 200 further in the CBD. But actually, yeah, the belonging thing is something I never really thought of it, but it was happening when I was building it. And then when I stepped away and tried to sort of outsource stuff and then got too busy with other stuff, I let go of that, of maintaining that. Not that I was maintaining it actively, but I let go of it. And then some of the stuff did actually lose that sense of belonging, which flows into the tangible things of like accountability and just quality work and so on.
One thing, you could look at a company called Lend-Lease, which is a very large construction company. Years ago, we used to entertain the kids at Lend-Lease parties and so on. But they would always have a lot of functions for the whole family. And you could hear the wives, there was all guys working and so on. You could hear the wives. And the wives would all be saying, we are doing this, we are doing this. So,
What does that mean?
well, in other words,
Oh,
they weren't even working there. The husband was, but they had a sense of belonging, that they belonged within the Lend-Lease organisation.
Yeah, right.
And that's just a typical European sort of style of business management, is to
Yeah.
have people that actually want to stay there for 20, 30 years and have a sense of belonging.
Yep.
If the wife is happy, then the husband's going to do a great job, because when he rings and says, oh, listen, I'm going to be late, the wife's going to be happy with it because she's fine with it, because she feels like she understands the business and what needs to be done to actually have the business succeed.
So it goes really deep.
So yeah, it needs to go deep. If you get the family involved,
Interesting. Have you ever successfully employed someone that didn't go through the ranks, that then just kind of stayed there long enough and they kind of got a foothold into the hierarchy at the top, or have you not had any success?
Not really success, but you were probably the closest to it. But you did go up from the delivering ranks through. But when you came and worked for me for how long did you work for me for? 2 years?
I don't know. I think it was 2 years.
Yeah, 2 years.
In the office.
Yeah, our income went up probably $300,000 in that time. One, because you understood how I worked, and two was you just understood how to actually get the systems in place. Everybody needs to have a system to make life easier, So for our business where we've got a booking for something, it's literally they can put it. 30% of our bookings that come online, which literally means we don't do anything. We
What do
just
you
see
mean?
them.
How I improve the systems, or what do you mean?
Yeah, you actually introduced a number of systems to get us to make life easier for our staff to be able to take a booking, and so on.
Like the JCO.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
And then you created the website, as in you used an old website and you made it into a bigger website, a greater website, and it had so much more information on the new website, which made
Yeah.
life a lot easier for our staff to look at to work because. If the customer couldn't see it on the page, all we had to do was go to the website, which is right at the front of the customer, and say, yes, here's the size of this, or this is the price, and so on and so forth. So, but in that period of time, our income rose quite severely.
Something I pride myself on that I remember doing with you we would be in the office and you've got all these ideas, but you didn't have anyone to capture them and put them into action. So I would always, every single idea that you said, I would write it down so that we make sure we capture it and then put it into a plan of are we going to do it or not, if we are going to do it, when. So basically everything you said with like a 99% accuracy, I would make sure it was at least captured and revisited later, which I think is a really rare trait in my experience. The attention to detail thing, like very rarely nowadays can I tell someone something and will they, like I can just don't have, like I will tell someone something, but it's still going to go in the back of my memory and I'm going to be thinking about it, and if it hasn't been done, you know what I mean? I don't really know, I don't think I know anyone that I can tell where I can just trust it's going to get done without following up.
Attention to detail is a very big thing in business, and if you're going to succeed, you do have to have attention to detail because you can't be lax about things. If you don't have the attention to detail, you're going to stuff up along the way.
Do you think you have that? Just not for the
Absolutely
creative
no.
stuff? Oh, you don't have it?
No attention to detail.
Really?
No, but that's why I got other people in who have attention to detail.
I see.
I'm off with the fairies most of the time, but I'm off with the fairies because I'm thinking about 1,000 things at the same time.
So you're just basically, I guess, conceptually thinking about your business like you've got like 9 different websites. You kind of just more on.
I have the
You
idea.
just put more fuel on the fire to keep it
That's
going
it.
rather than more wood or something.
Yeah, rather than stick to one website, we've got several websites that zero in on a particular product, and then that refers to our mothership website. But I mean, look at Richard Branson; he comes up with all these great ideas, but he's not running any of them. He's literally a marketer, so he just goes
Well,
out.
but actually, what you've done is you were sort of able to. Well, I don't know who you really use now since I left to do all of the new ideas, but basically, since you detach yourself from the business, you've been able to action those ideas like Fix My Tear and all the other sites.
Yeah, yeah. So basically, all we're doing now is really just tinkering with each site, and then as we come up with a different idea, we set up a new website just via Wix or Shopify, depending on whether you want to. It needs to have a e-commerce sort of side of it, and we just go out there and just basically just flog it. But I mean, bear in mind, we don't do any marketing. We never do marketing. So if we did, we'd probably make a hell of a lot more.
Fuck.
Somebody said to me in the US, you don't do any marketing. They spend like 200 grand in marketing, US in marketing in the same industry, which is the amusement industry. And we don't do any marketing at all. Everybody comes to us because they go on and they see these great, like for example, we've got this new product called street curling. All it is curling, which is ice curling that you see at the Winter Olympics. And we've created an inflatable one where you can put it anywhere. You can put it in the backyard.
With water on it or something?
No, it's literally just and it looks like a curling ring, but it's actually just an inflatable where you put it down, and that's starting to go off. And you go back to the old saying, hopefully I can remember it, which Steve Jobs said with the iPhone: customers do not know what they want until you create it. So you create the product, and then you literally whack it on your website. And yes, if you market, you're going to even do better. So you put it on your website, people come along and go, what a great product, I want that product. But they're not going there thinking,
But hang on, just a caveat to that, because otherwise people will go out there and do some dickhead thing and order a container load of apricot flavoured tea and then no one wants it. I sent you a reel the other day. It was something about...
probably one of the ones I don't watch.
You need to, like... trust your gut because that is what creates a unique product.
Yeah.
But you can only trust your gut once you've built enough trust because you've got lots of reference of what does work and what
Yeah,
doesn't.
yeah. I mean, it's experience, but
Yeah.
I guess trust your gut means doing some due diligence on it. So, street curling was more of a due diligence in respect of, well, nobody else has got it here. Actually, not that bad. Pretty fun to play.
Yeah.
So there's your due diligence, and then you look a little bit deeper into it, and then we find out that actually we could really go well with this stuff because there is actually a curling association in Australia. So we thought, well, we'll start linking up with them, which we're hopefully going to do this year. But if you do a bit of due diligence on it before you make that decision to bring in your apricot tea, maybe there's
Yeah.
lots of people out there who like apricot tea.
Yeah. I've trusted my gut a couple of times on taking on a property of the size or style or area that I haven't done before, and I've failed actually. So, but that was because I trusted my gut only and I didn't do feasibility.
The other thing you can
You know
do,
what I
and
mean?
this is something you told me to do, and that is before you even bring the product in, put it on your website.
Oh, that's right.
And
Yeah.
then just watch what happens, and
Yeah.
people ring and say, I want a trackless train. And then next week, I want a trackless train, and then you suddenly realise, well, we better get a trackless train, or whatever it is, whatever the product is.
Yeah. Right.
So put on your website and you'll actually find, but that's a slow way of doing it. It's one of those ones where you've actually showed your hand before even going into it, which means somebody else could jump on it. The big thing in business generally is that if you bring a new product in, you've got about 6 months ahead of the market before somebody else comes up and goes, what a great idea, I'm going to copy that. So that's the normal thing in business. You've got about 6 months to get yourself cemented in to be the first.
Right. Like if you're selling t-shirts online, you might have
Yeah.
2 months versus
Exactly.
real estate. It might be 2 years or something.
Yeah. So in our industry, sometimes people are a little bit slow in doing what you'd think they would want to do. So in our industry, we actually find we sometimes have 2 or 3 years before somebody will actually do something. But yeah, generally it's 6 months.
Thanks for watching, guys.
A call to action is actually do something. Stop working for somebody else and start doing it. Unless you really love your job, do something else.
And also don't lie to yourself about loving your job because we all know that you don't actually love your job. Yeah, give us a follow on my socials. They'll be in the description.
But hang on.
Wait.
You could follow your job. If there's an opportunity down the track that you might be able to buy that business, or that somebody will be retiring and you'll be running that business and getting a sizable wage, or both wage.
Yeah, I suppose that's
think
less
that-
than 1% of people would have that opportunity though,
Sure.
right? Yeah, and even if you don't want to do Airbnb, I feel like I speak some sense. So get stuck in, my brethren.
But Airbnb is good.